Hey, this is John Vilade with Vilade Baseball Academy. Today I've got Scott Coolbaugh with the Detroit Tigers, coach with the Detroit Tigers, on with us in the virtual studio. Hey, Scott, how you doing?
How you doing, John?
So, Cooley, you've coached in the World Series. You've coached All-Star games. What's your most memorable moment as a coach?
I think obviously you can't take away the fact that the coaching, your first time coaching in the major leagues is go to a World Series, right?
Yeah,
Go to Game 7 against St. Louis, a great team. To see how it unfolded was obviously heartbreaking on my side, but that was something you will never forget. There's some you know player perspectives that I was fortunate enough to be a part of. And Josh Hamilton hitting 4 home runs in Baltimore
yeah,
in one night. I mean, it was you don't see that very often.
no,
To see a no hitter, Luis Giolito this year, being able to do that. Seeing performances like Adrian Beltre, who I coached with, get a 3,000 hit. So, those things are memorable moments that you cherish and be a part of, to be on the field during that time. So, as a group, the World Series, obviously, and then obviously there's individual player stuff.
yeah. I mean, as a coach, you're a witness to history, and you're right on that grass, and you can see it, feel it, taste it, and just being a part of that atmosphere must be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and the thing about it is you see the enjoyment of the teammates to see these guys when they do perform and they have break these records or tie these records. You see the enjoyment from their teammates, and you get more enjoyment out of it because everybody's just thrilled at the moment, right? And it's something outside the game. It's an individual thing because in baseball it's such a team sport, and you try to bring it across as a team sport. But when you have these guys that have individual accolades, it's kind of one
Yeah.
of those moments of like, man, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So as fans of the game, we get to see big leaguers like yourself and other. We get to see you in a stadium here in the United States and play. But I promised we would get back to playing overseas. What was that experience like for you?
It was a little scary at first. To say that you're going to leave the United States and go over and play in Japan, and my contract was sold in 1995 from the St. Louis Cardinals. My last year playing in the big leagues in '94, we had the strike in August 12th. They sold my contract that winter to Japan, and it was kind of like one of those things like, oh, okay, well, let's see what happens. And I went open arms, and just a different culture, and I dove right into the culture, tried to fit right in as one of the players. And even though I knew that I was, kind of an outsider, kind of gave me a new perspective of what Venezuelan players and Dominican players, when they come to the States, of you know they're part of the team, but
Yeah,
they really, it's not part of the culture yet. So um, it was an adjustment, but it was great baseball. There was a lot of great players at the time. Hideki Matsui was playing
yeah,
for Tokyo, that was in the same level league I was in, same division. Ichiro was over there, and Sasaki, the closer from the Seattle Mariners, had been over there. Hideo Nomo was coming up through. So it was a great time in Japan to challenge yourself with a player like myself that didn't have a lot of success at the major leagues. So after my first year, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to make a career of this. I'll go back and retire as a Japanese player. And I went back the second year. We had some managerial change, and unfortunately, things didn't work out. And I came back to the States for a short period of time before I went back and headed to Korea.
yeah. And followed your passion right back into coaching, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, going to Korea and Japan, and seeing some things as a player, I think helped me as a coach to understanding, you know, you're an outsider when you come over to the States.
Yeah,
The Dominican players, like I said, the Venezuela, the Mexican players, the kids from Puerto Rico, and you know, just a more diverse player, and understanding that it takes some time, and it takes some, patience and adjustment period for them. And I think that's helped me along with my my coaching career, because I think it's so important to really have that patience with players, even though that you want to get the most out of them right away, and that's the expectation of everybody, that you have a better understanding of what they're going through, maybe off the field.
Yeah, that empathy is often missed in sports. Expectations are so high for people to come on the scene and perform immediately or adjust to a culture or adjust to a club. That's really important, that you share that. I think that's a great insight that only a guy like you would have,
No, well,
which is great.
that's the fortune of playing, overseas and being able to do those things. And a lot of guys play winter ball and they get a different perspective. And you hear it all the time is like you have a greater appreciation for the diversity in the game where, you are dealing with a lot of different individuals, not just American players that, have different personalities. You
Yeah.
have different cultures that are coming over. And I think that it's important to understand those players and understand what they're going through to try to get the most out of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm tracking a pro ball player, as you know, very closely, and I talk to him all the time. And one of the great satisfactions he gets is by helping other players adjust to the culture and adjust to where they might be assigned at that given time. And it's a great opportunity all the way around.
Absolutely. I think, like I said, and then, it drives you and it's an appreciation that, I think that you kind of like you miss it a little bit because you're like, oh, you know what? You assume that other people know this, right? But
Yeah.
not everybody knows it,
No.
and to have that experience is really sets you apart. And I
Yeah.
think that I've been very fortunate in my playing background that has allowed me to coach as long as I have because I am 54 and I've been doing it for since 2000 and very fortunate because I know this game is about youth and having that connection with players. And I think that's been able to keep me connected with players.
Coach, if somebody told you that you would make a living out of baseball when you were 12 years old, would you have had stars in your eyes?
I mean, I was gravitated to just athletics in general, but to say that I would be a major league coach and play in the major leagues and do all these things, play overseas, I would have thought you're crazy. This
Yeah.
is this is made for somebody else, not for somebody like me coming out of small town in the upstate New York. And then really transitioning into that. I never thought I'd go to a major university, playing in high school, and that happened, and getting drafted, and just all these things that took place. It's almost like an assumption now, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
assuming that that's going to happen all the time, but I think it's more about appreciating every opportunity that you get.
Yeah. So, Scott, before we get to the speed round of a couple of personal questions, I want to get to know you just a little bit more, get under the hood. Any parting advice on the baseball front for young kids in particular? And we're thinking about that range around Little League, the Babe Ruth League, the kids that are involved with travel baseball, really trying to inch their way up and get more advanced.
It takes a passion. Obviously, these kids have got a passion. They see it on TV. They want to emulate guys. You see them all the time. But it really takes a true inner passion of saying you're going to go beyond what the players are doing because everybody just sees what they see in their little area, right? They see you outworking the next kid, but
Yeah.
he doesn't realize the kid down in Dominican has been doing it for you
Yeah.
know 12 hours a day, and then the next guy is doing it even harder. So you can never assume that you're outworking somebody else, and
Yeah.
and using that passion, like I said, to continue getting better. Um, and always learning. I mean, you never can figure out this game until this day. Right now, I'm always learning something new. And with the analytics you talked about earlier, it's something new that I have to learn on a daily basis to really understand what I can take from it, what I can apply to players so they don't get cluttered, like I said. So there's always a learning curve all the time, learning something new, trying to acquire something that is going to make you or separate you from other players. And
Yeah.
I think that sometimes the kids don't get to that point. They just play it because they enjoy it and have the passion. But when
Yeah.
you actually are trying to learn something new all the time as you're playing, I think then you end up separating yourself, and that's what the good players do.
Yeah, passion, always learn, and never assume that you're outworking somebody else, man. That gives me chills. Absolutely. All right, coach, here we go. Best concert you've ever been to in your life?
You know what? I can tell you that Elton John I went to in Las Vegas. It's really not a concert; it's more of a show. I loved, the old school stuff, and it was a great time. My wife and I went there to Vegas to see him perform, and it was a great time.
The Rocket Man. All right. What are you
Yeah.
streaming right now? What are you watching on TV or streaming?
I tell you what, I mean, with the way the pandemic was, and the Netflix and all that kind of stuff. I've been watching a lot of different stuff, but my son kind of got me into the show called The Bull. It's it's a law show, and I've really enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, I'll recommend Yellowstone. Kevin Costner, an old baseball guy. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen
I watched
Yellowstone.
that one also. Yep, that Yellowstone is a great one, and the hard thing is like these short season ones, you get through them so quick,
Yeah,
because there's nothing else to do. So I've been trying to get to something that has a little more seasons to it.
there we go. Well, Cobra Kai, that's another one I'll recommend for you. Hey, fun,
Okay, perfect.
yeah, Cobra Kai. The old Karate Kid guys are back in that one. Uh, hey,
Okay.
final question, Coach. Best personal baseball moment for you in your career? And it could be from Little League through UT to major leagues. What's the best moment you've ever had as a player?
I guess my first major league hit, to
Yeah,
actually say that you got there, but actually to get a hit, there's very few people that have said, I actually got a hit in the major leagues.
yeah,
That was kind of the stepping stone of saying, hey, I've arrived. Um, there was a great moments that took place during my career playing with Nolan Ryan and, seeing some of the things that he did with no hitters and, the strikeout records. Just, those are individual things that you are a part of, but to actually say the greatest moment is, you know, to get that first major league hit.
yeah. That first hit, the chill you must have gotten from that contribution. You made it and you contributed, and you're a productive member of that dream now. That's something else. That's something
Yeah,
else.
and it's at that point you just say, hey, like there's nothing that anybody can take away from me. There's guys been
That's
called
it.
up and never got a chance to play,
Yeah,
and to just say, hey, man, I wish I had that one at bat, or
yeah.
to say that I got to get on the field for to make a play or whatever it may have been. But for me, it was that moment. And the thing about it is that I didn't even get a. It wasn't even a great hit. I think it was a swinging butt or something off David West, and I'm like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it just the monkey's off your back, so to speak, and you're like, yes, I'm here now.
Yeah, yeah. It's like golf. They don't ask how, they just ask how many, right, Coach?
Exactly. That's it. That's it.
Well, awesome. Well, Scott, man, I really appreciate you, brother, and thanks for coming on. And Vilade Baseball Academy really appreciates it, and we thank you for following us. And we're certainly going to be rooting for the Tigers this year, and hopefully we can get back to normal in Major League Baseball.
Well, I appreciate it. And again, Vilade, the name Vilade and baseball, that goes hand in hand. You guys do a great job.
Scott, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.